Welcome to my channel. Subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for more videos. America, the richest, most powerful nation on the planet. Its military unmatched, its economy driving the world, its culture everywhere. But this wasn't always the case. For most of history, the land we call America was a footnote, if it was mentioned at all. The real centers of power were in China, India, and Europe. America was unknown, overlooked. No one could have predicted this remote continent would one day eclipse them all. Before Europeans arrived, millions lived here in hundreds of nations and tribes, each with their own histories and traditions. Their story is the first chapter of American history, a chapter often forgotten. The arrival of outsiders changed everything, setting off a chain of events no one could foresee. The story we're about to explore is how this forgotten land became the center of the world, how unwanted colonies on the edge of a wilderness became a global superpower. It's a story of discovery, war, revolution, and relentless expansion. It's about big ideas, liberty, freedom, and the brutal struggles to make them real. How did a nation founded on liberty grow so powerful? The answers are not simple, but they are thrilling. Let's turn back the clock and find out. It all started with a mistake. In 1492, Columbus, sailing for Spain, sought a shortcut to Asia, and found a world he never knew existed. He thought he'd reached the East Indies, called the people Indians, and never realized the true scale of his discovery. News electrified Europe, explorers followed, hungry for gold, glory, and God. But the real prize was in the south. Spanish conquistadors toppled the Aztec and Inca empires, shipping gold and silver back to Spain. South and Central America became the heart of a new Spanish empire. North America? A disappointment. No golden cities, no empires to conquer, just forests, harsh climate, and endless wilderness. For decades, North America was ignored, a consolation prize nobody wanted. Explorers like John Cabot returned to England with little more than fish and timber. Fish and trees weren't going to make England a great power. For a long time, that was North America's story resources, but not the kind that built empires overnight. It would take a different kind of ambition to unlock its potential. The land waited, largely untouched, for the next wave of dreamers. The seeds of a new world were planted, but no one yet knew what would grow. The stage was set for a transformation no one could predict. The world's focus would soon shift north. The unknown land was about to become the center of a new story, and everything was about to change. While Spain dominated the south, other European powers turned north. France established New France for the fur trade, forging alliances with native tribes and claiming vast lands with only scattered forts. England, after false starts, founded Jamestown in 1607 and Plymouth soon after. Unlike others, many English settlers came to stay, seeking religious freedom or new lives. They built towns, cleared forests, and created a permanent presence along the Atlantic. Three empires, Spain, France, Britain, now claimed overlapping parts of the continent. For over a century, they fought wars for control, with battles stretching from Europe to the American wilderness. The final showdown, the French and Indian War, part of the global 7 Years' War. Britain and its colonists fought France and native allies. A young George Washington saw his first command. Britain's victory in 1763 redrew the map. France lost Canada and lands east of the Mississippi. Spain got the west. Suddenly, Britain controlled a vast new American empire. The stage was set for new conflicts, this time not between empires, but within the colonies themselves. The seeds of revolution were sown. The continent's future would soon be decided by those who called it home. The scramble for America was just beginning. Britain's victory brought debt and new taxes for the colonies. Parliament imposed the Sugar Act, then the Stamp Act, taxing everything from newspapers to playing cards. Colonists were furious, not just over money, but principle. No taxation without representation. Protests erupted. The Sons of Liberty organized boycotts. Tax collectors were threatened. Parliament repealed the Stamp Act, but kept trying with new taxes like the Townshend Acts. Tensions rose. In 1770, British soldiers fired on a Boston crowd, the Boston Massacre. In 1773, colonists dumped tea into Boston Harbor, the Boston Tea Party. Britain responded with the intolerable acts closing Boston's port, shutting down local governments, sending more troops. Instead of scaring the colonies, these acts united them. In 1774, delegates from 12 colonies met in Philadelphia, the First Continental Congress. The path to compromise was closing. The road to revolution was opening. The colonies were no longer just British outposts. They were becoming something new. The fight for American independence was about to begin. The world would never be the same. The revolution was at hand. In April 1775, British troops marched to seize colonial weapons. Shots rang out at Lexington. The American Revolution had begun. 13 colonies, led by the Second Continental Congress, faced the world's strongest military. On July 4, 1776, they declared independence, laying out radical ideas. All men are created equal, with rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. With French help and Washington's leadership, The Americans won, forcing a British surrender at Yorktown. Winning was one thing, building a nation was another. The first government, under the Articles of Confederation, was too weak, unable to tax, regulate trade, or enforce laws. States acted like independent countries, the nation was falling apart. In 1787, delegates met in Philadelphia. Instead of fixing the Articles, they started over. The result, the U.S. Constitution, a blueprint for a government with 3 branches and checks and balances. A strong federal government, but with states' rights protected. The Bill of Rights was added to guarantee individual liberties. This new government, born of struggle and compromise, became the foundation of the Republic. It would guide the United States for centuries to come. The experiment in democracy had begun. The new United States was small, but its ambitions were huge. Manifest destiny, the belief that America was destined to span the continent, took hold. In 1803, Jefferson bought the Louisiana Territory from France, doubling the nation's size overnight. Florida was acquired from Spain in 1819. American settlers poured into Texas, declared independence from Mexico, and joined the U.S. in 1845. The annexation of Texas led to war with Mexico. The Mexican-American War ended with the U.S. gaining California, Nevada, Utah, and more. In just a few decades, America stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The dream of manifest destiny was reality. But expansion came at a cost. Conflict with native peoples, and a growing divide over slavery. The nation was bigger, but more divided than ever. The next great challenge was looming. The struggle for the soul of America was about to erupt. The Civil War was on the horizon, the fate of the nation hung in the balance. As America expanded, the issue of slavery split the nation. The North, industrial and free, the South, agricultural and dependent on enslaved labor. New territories raised the question, free or slave? Compromises failed. In 1860, Lincoln's election pushed Southern states to secede. 11 states formed the Confederacy. Lincoln vowed to preserve the Union. The Civil War began, America's deadliest conflict. At first it was about saving the Union, but in 1863, Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation made it a war to end slavery. In 1865, the Confederacy surrendered. The Union was saved, slavery abolished by the 13th Amendment. The nation faced Reconstruction, rebuilding the South and integrating 4 million freed people. Days after victory, Lincoln was assassinated. The man who saved the Union would not guide its healing. The struggle for equality and unity was far from over. America's greatest test had only just begun. After the Civil War, America looked outward. In 1867, the U.S. bought Alaska from Russia, mocked as Seward's folly, but rich in resources. In Hawaii, American planters overthrew the Queen, seeking annexation. Debate raged. Should America become an imperial power? The answer came in 1898 with the Spanish-American War. The U.S. defeated Spain, gaining Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. In the patriotic fervor, Congress annexed Hawaii. America was now a global power with colonies across the sea. The frontier had shifted from the continent to the world. The nation's ambitions and responsibilities had grown. The United States was no longer just a continental nation. It was a player on the world stage. The age of American expansion had entered a new era. The world would soon feel its impact. The Spanish-American War marked America's arrival as a world power. President Theodore Roosevelt embodied this new spirit: speak softly and carry a big stick. The U.S. Navy circled the globe, showing off American might. Roosevelt's boldest move, building the Panama Canal, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific. When Colombia refused, he backed Panama's independence, then secured canal rights. Building the canal was a triumph of engineering and determination. In 1914, the Panama Canal opened, transforming global trade and cementing U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere. America now controlled a vital artery of world commerce. The once-forgotten wilderness was a global powerhouse. As the canal opened, Europe edged toward World War I. America tried to stay neutral, but isolation was no longer possible. In just 4 centuries, the U.S. had gone from backwater to world power. Its journey was remarkable, and far from over. The story of America continues to unfold every day.